Would you look at this weather? It's incredible. The sun is shining. It must be around 11, 12 degrees in the sun right now. We've just done about a 60, 70 mile loop around the Cotswolds and it's been incredible. The weather makes all the difference. I'm just on the way home right now and I thought I would do another brief video to really quickly touch on a question that I've been asked multiple times now since riding Stuart's Honda CRF300L. And that question is, and it's a question that I had actually a few months ago before buying this bike, and that is, do I go for the Honda CRF300L or something similar? There's tons of trail bikes out there, obviously. The CRF300L, I would say, is designed a bit more for riding the roads as well, a bit more long distance riding in between than just a pure trail bike. And obviously the Rally is more geared at that, even more so. Or do I go for something like the CF450MT, or I guess the comparison to this would be something like the Himalayan if you're looking at costs as well. You know, there's loads of other stuff coming out, the KTM 390 Adventure, there's, you know, the Cove stuff coming out as well, but it's all a little bit more expensive than what you'll pay for something like this. And I think this, for the amount of bike you get for 5,700, 800 pounds, it's a lot of bike. It's not cheap, but it's really affordable for a good adventure bike, and this thing is so capable. So let's just quickly jump into a couple of things for both. Then me and Stuart will do a proper comparison later down the line together, because he owns the Honda, I own the CF Moto. We've both done quite a few miles now. I mean, Stuart's done literally Spain on the Honda, so he's told me plenty of stuff about that bike. But first of all, I'd say it's quite hard to compare the two. They're very different bikes. Straight away, I would say if you've never ridden off-road before and you want to do off-road trail riding, do not get something of this weight or size. It's true that, you know, when you're riding around, when you've got momentum on a bike and keep it upright, it's pretty weightless, you know. And if this thing is great, it feels very, very light when you're riding it around. You can whip it around, no issue once you're moving. But if you've never ridden and have no technique off-road, then I really can't recommend starting on this. You're going to struggle to gain confidence. You're not going to have the technique to begin with, and I think you'll just really struggle to whip this thing around and build the technique that you need to ride trails and have fun. It's going to be quite a big thing to lug around, especially when you hit wet, boggy stuff like what you get in the UK over the winter. That's the first thing I'd say. So if you want to learn to ride trails and have fun off-road, go for something like the Honda CRF300L or the Rally or any other bike that's designed for trail riding. Second thing I would say is just bear in mind what you want to do. What do you actually want to do? Do you want to do like multi-touring, which is what this bike is called? It's called the 450MT, a multi-touring bike. Do you want to go and do long distances around, you know, Europe, around the world, or even just around the UK, and do a bit of off-roading in between? Or do you want to mainly focus on trail riding and kind of off tarmac work and building technique toward that, as well as having a bit of road in between? I think the Honda would be fantastic for potting around the UK, you know, and doing the trails, riding to the trails without a van, doing the trails and riding home. That's perfect, you know. But if you want to go and do long distance stuff with the bit of off-roading in between, like what I'm looking to do later this year, I would personally go for something like this. I'm planning to do the Tet, parts of the Tet through Portugal, Spain, France later this year. And I wouldn't want to do that on the Honda. And I've had the backup from Stuart. He did Spain, his friend broke his foot on the way down. He had to come home and decided to skip the off-road stuff and do the toll roads all the way back on the Honda, and apparently it was hell. Plenty of people do long distance tours on the Honda. I personally wouldn't want to do it on that bike. You know, it does hold a high-end speed pretty well, but not, I wouldn't want to do that for hours on end. And just the weight of the bike and the size of it just doesn't really feel like the kind of bike that I want to do like long distances on. I'd rather put it in a van. Whereas this is super smooth. I noticed how smooth this thing is getting off the Honda and then back onto this on the roads the other day. I'm just checking for trail bikes, don't come run my camera over. And this is a great bike for putting the miles on. So if you want to do like tons of miles and off-roading, then this is a great bike for you. Those are the two things that I would say thus far. The Honda is amazing. If I could have two bikes, I would have this and the Honda. I think if I just wanted to ride around the UK and do trails around the UK, I would buy the Honda. The only reason that I've got this bike is because I want to do more long distance touring this year. I'm talking, you know, a few thousand miles in a few weeks. So this bike's ideal for that, and I'd like to have the speed on the motorway, the comfort on the motorway, and the tank as well, the tank size, as well as being able to do, you know, the off-road trail stuff. There's a real quick thing that I will say, and that is tons and tons of people are just posting videos riding this thing off-road recently, you know. I mean, the whole of YouTube is just riding this bike off-road on the trails, on, you know, enduro tracks and stuff, and it's fantastic for that. It's absolutely incredible on everything that I've done with it so far. It's been incredible. It's struggled in a few places for sure. The weight has become apparent in some places, but this bike has been incredible. But if you've never ridden off-road, you might have a bit of a shock, because it isn't going to be the easiest thing to ride. If you get on the Honda or something like a trail bike, anyone can ride that thing and have a good time. You can ride it pretty much anywhere. It's super capable, super light. You can throw it on the ground, not worry about breaking things. It's super, super durable and light. And you can pick it up, put it down all day. You know, chuck it on the floor, pick it up all day long. This, you get a bit tired. So that's just a few things to really, just, you know, really briefly bear in mind. And the straight up point that I would say is, if you want to do more off-road riding, don't get something like this. If you want to do more touring, get something like this. If you want to learn the trails, have a great time off-road, get something like the Honda or a trail bike. But then you have to bear in mind, if you want to do long distance road riding, the Honda's going to be better than just a straight up trail bike, but I don't think either would be great just for, you know, putting mile munching on the roads pretty much. So there's a couple of things to bear in mind really, but I think it's a pretty simple answer to, you know, a question that many people have, essentially. And we'll do a proper vlog on all of that, you know, comparing the two bikes, the differences and whatnot, and mine and Stuart's thoughts on both bikes later down the line. But that's a really brief kind of chat, and I hope it helps some people that have asked me the question now, which bike do I get? They're both fantastic. They're both so much fun. If I could have both, then I would, but you know, there we go. If I could, I'd have 5 bikes, but I can't afford it right now. So yeah, hope that helps, and I'll see you all very soon.